Hi, everyone. We are bringing Adriana on to tell her Path to Purpose story. So she'll be on in just a second. Cannot. Let's see if the internet wants to work for us today. Hello, hello. Adriana is going to be joining us in just a second. I'm so excited for you guys to meet her. Oh, she's here. Can you hear and see me? Let's see if the internet wants to work for us. Hi, Adriana.
Hi, can you see me? Can you hear me?
I, I can see you and I can hear you. It looks like the internet gods are
Yay!
with us right now.
Excellent.
Okay, I'm so excited to have you on here personally because I just love you so much. But
Love you
also
more.
because I know what?
I said love you more.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, can you hear
Do we have
me?
a little bit of a delay?
Can you hear me?
Yes, okay. I think we have a little bit of a delay, but we'll just make it work.
Okay.
So I am honestly just so excited to have you on here, obviously personally, because I just love you so much. And
Mm.
because I think your story is going to resonate with so many people. And so I want to just kind of kick off with letting you just introduce yourself. Who are you? And we'll just start there. And then I'll ask you some other questions about your journey and your story.
Yeah, okay. Is the delay working better now?
Yeah, it's a little bit better. It just always takes a minute, for it to like warm up and realize it has a job to do.
Cool. All right. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Adriana. I met Emily. Let's talk a little bit about our background. I met Emily a handful of years ago when I was an applicant for a program called Remote Year. And Emily was interviewing me to see if I would be a fit for this really, really cool program where you get to travel the world for a year. So it wasn't the right time for me to go. And I had this corporate job that I'm still in, and I had all these different things going on and location constraints where I couldn't actually go on the journey, but followed along with M to see where she headed. And she started this really cool business. And so our paths crossed again at the middle of last year, let's say. So my story, so I am currently full-time working in the corporate insurance world. And when I decided to connect with Emily again, I was just finishing up an MBA at Emory. So I was really, really, really exhausted. I had been working full time and doing schoolwork at night. I was really, really excited about what my path was going to be next, but I didn't really know what that was. And I didn't know sort of like how to feel, what to do. Like I had just been in this like work, work, work mode for so many years that I hadn't really stopped to think about anything other than like the next step on the corporate ladder. So I landed in one of Emily's like what do you call it programs, which was, well, before Path to Purpose it was like a camp. So I was so excited because every day that I came to this camp where Emily was like giving us more and more information about what purpose meant and how we could feel and what the possibilities were, I was like hooked every day. I was so excited to come at lunch with my candle and my journal and my pen, and I was like so pumped. I was doing the homework sheet, like I'd like write her being like did the worksheets, like, and so that led me to her 6 month Path to Purpose program with a cohort of other amazing women that we just finished pretty recently. So that's my background up until now.
Okay, so Adriana, tell us a little bit about kind of like what even inspired you to join career camp back in the day when you sort of, you were just talking about your experience in career camp. Like what were you looking for? What were you struggling with?
Yeah, so so what I was struggling with, I think it was that I always knew that I wanted to do more than just like work. So I think what really happened was I ended up almost becoming my work and putting my worth in my work. And so all of a sudden, it was like if I wasn't getting promoted or if I wasn't getting more money or if I wasn't, having some sort of like instant gratification or, like a pat on the back all the time with like doing more projects. It was like I kept taking things on and without really, I think, being intentional about, I mean, if you wanted to call it what I was putting on my resume or what was like the next path that was actually fulfilling me. So like you know, to an extent, everything happens for a reason. You learn all these lessons and later on and now I start to see how all those pieces like fit together. But at the time it was like, why am I doing what I'm doing? And is it the right path? Is it not? Like, so I had a lot of questions. And so I think the
Mm-hmm.
struggle was a lot of questions that I wasn't feeling like I could hear the answers on my own.
Mm-hmm. It's so common. I think one of the things, I mean, I hear it all the time. I also remember being in the place where, we're constantly striving, right? The ambition is what we're taught, right? When we're younger, it's like work hard, be ambitious, like prestige, titles, like all this stuff. And so we just sort of almost like get on this hamster wheel of continuing to like need the next achievement and then the next achievement and then the next achievement. And without those like achievements, it's almost like an addiction. It's like we get the hit of like, okay, I can feel good about myself now, right? Like I just got a new job, or I just got a promotion, or I just got a raise, or like whatever it is, or I just got this other piece of external validation. But it's like in between, it's like almost addictive. It's like when we don't have it,
Yeah,
we like need it. And
yeah,
I think so many of us are almost taught to look outside of ourselves for that really feeling of just exactly what you said, worthiness, right? And we get our own sense of worthiness from these external factors. Can you share a little bit about what shifted for you and what's changed in terms of feeling a sense of self-worth internally rather than looking for that externally?
yeah. So I can definitely say that I spent so much of 2020 up at which ultimately led me to you and your program. I spent so much of it sort of like just think of like reconnecting, revisiting, revising everything. Like I was really noticing how it was impacting me. So I was constantly having to like make up for the just like the choices I was making. So an example would be like, I would I would have to like be doing all these different like methods to try to connect with myself, whether it be like acupuncture, sauna, supplements, like vitamin D shots, like all these. I was just like all these things. I was throwing them at myself to be like, what will help me? What will help me? And so it took this program. It was a place where like you could kind of stop, like I could settle down. Like every week I had a group where I could be vulnerable in like I don't want to say in the right way, but in the right way, because there are times where you're vulnerable and like it's not with the right person or with the right group, or you're sort of oversharing because you don't know what to do and you're like kind of just like
Like
acting
word
coming like
vomiting?
things. Yeah, you're just like word vomiting. So all of a sudden is a place where I could be like, okay, let me just sit for a moment, right? So a lot of where I hung out in for I would say Path to Purpose and in the program you have, a lot of the place where I hung out for a while to start to realize this journey of self-worth was in the self-connection modules. So I found myself, even though I had been really interested in like Eastern methodologies and energy work and sound healing and you name it, anything that was sort of like not just talk therapy, if you will. I found myself hanging out there because I was finally able to start to put together the stories that had been making up like my past and and I was still like living in past stories, if you will. And to just explain that a little bit further, I think it's more of like whether it's something that happened in childhood, whether it's something that happened when you were in high school, like just I think there for the benefit of those listening, like there are certain scenarios in your life that like they really shape who you are, but you also don't realize like how much of an effect they have on you subconsciously and how you make decisions from those places. So I think what I started to realize was when like figuring out those stories, writing them out, and sort of uncovering how deep they were, I was able to start to shift my just my overall feeling, right? Because it's about how you feel. So like when I started to feel different and feel better, then my actions started to become easier and the baby steps and the progress.
What you're saying is so important. So I want to just like even go a little bit deeper here,
Yeah.
just so, for anybody
Yeah.
who's listening. You were going through this phase, which so many people have this chapter of their lives where you were feeling, right, like um, unfulfilled, probably undervalued, like you were seeking, right, some type of validation, right, as we just talked about from the external world and like specifically from your career, from your job, from the people you work with, right? We've all been there. And what you're saying is that actually, usually when we're in that space, and I'm sure you thought this too, we just think, okay, I need a new job in that moment. The only way to fix this is a new job. The only way to fix this is to leave. And maybe that's still what needs to happen. But what you're saying is actually what I needed to do is to rebuild a relationship with myself and reconnect with myself so that I could start to give myself that sense of worthiness so that that wouldn't continue to follow me and impact the decisions that I'm making, right? Continuing to seek, continuing, and externally, right? Continuing to look outside of yourself for validation for all these things. Can you tell us a little bit more about like how has that actually impacted how you feel about your career, being able to now have that reconnected sense of self?
Yeah, I think honestly, like at first it was almost like a pressure cooker like turned off because I felt like I kept like it was like hot potato. I was like, I've got to do something. I've got to do something. What is it? Like, is it another project? Is it another role? Is it a like another thing, like a job grade change? Like it was all these questions that you have, especially when you're like just so conditioned to follow kind of like society's path, which I hope is like changing and it's not still the norm, to like go to like just going with emotions, right? But it was something where it was like I went from like trying to like keep up with the Joneses to like being like, okay, like I get to have a lot more say in the choices I make and how I make my schedule and what times I schedule my work meetings, like things that you're just like sort of instead of reacting, I was kind of like, okay, well, this is where the workout goes. And that actually makes me more productive during the day. And like I can meditate because now I'm working from home. So like there isn't an excuse of like there's nowhere in the office to go. It was like sort of to establish these habits that in this routine that I never had before. Because I always was somebody, and I don't know if this is common or not with corporate world, but I was always somebody that's like, oh my God, like routine. Like, no routine. I don't want a routine. Like, I want change. I want like excitement. I want adventure. But like, you can still have that with routine. It's just like the routine gets you there.
Oh my God, me too. I used to be anti-routine forever. And then the second I really realized like what a beautiful thing routine can be, like it shifted everything, right? Because then you are in control. Like you're deciding your day, you're driving, right? And what you're saying is like you didn't even really make any massive shifts, right? In terms of work. Like it's like I always sort of say it's like you're holding a beach ball and then all of a or like a globe or something, and all of a sudden you just turn it a little and then everything looks different, right? Like the lens through which you view your day and how you plan your week and how you schedule your time is now just different because like Adriana's in charge, like Adriana's deciding how she wants it all to be and how it all to go. So like in a few words, can you just describe how it all feels now that you've done the work, really?
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because I like some words come to mind and I'm like, but I want to like explain or like there's obviously always a time when there's like an opposite reaction, but I would say it's easy. I would say easy with hard work involved. Um, it is how I feel now. I would say more it's like settled, and I would say also more creative.
Mm, I love that so much. Okay, so tell us a little bit about, we're going to kind of ping pong back a little bit, back and forth a
Yeah,
little bit. But you have a new project that you are releasing into the world, a new business.
yeah.
Tell me about it.
Totally. Yeah. So when I was getting my MBA and also in my corporate role, I've always loved to serve like the interns that are coming in, like the graduate students that are coming in. I always was involved at Emory with the coaching program. So coaching the incoming students and actually having a coach as well that's like showing you like, how to run some like any sort of coaching meetings. So I really found, and also helping out with some of the new students when they are doing simulations, like teamwork and everything. So that really got me excited. It's something I'm really passionate about, and I always have tried to get involved in wherever I am, whether it's work or school. And now in my personal life, yeah, so I've been opening up my calendar in the past month for those that would like to have some coaching. So I'm not putting a name on it yet, in sort of like what the coaching may be. I think it will reveal itself when it's supposed to, but it's more like how can I help serve others going through transitional time periods and help them maybe unblock their creativity or their other passions and realize like how they can bring that into their everyday life without having to make these drastic changes. Because I think the whole story for me was I always thought, and even if I go back to remote year, like I always thought that I had to make just some sort of wild, crazy, drastic change in order to actually like feel better in my life. But it actually has come from all of these small shifts. Anything from the morning routine that we're talking about to actually, having hobbies in the evening that include leaving the house and doing something that I love and am passionate about, like voiceover, for example, instead of spending that time, watching TV or doing something else that might not light me up as much.
I want to ask you way more about who's like the right client for you so that anybody who's watching knows to reach out to you. But I something
Yeah.
that I know that people really struggle with is imagining, because you still have a full-time job, right? Is
Yeah.
imagining
Yeah.
how to experiment or start something while you have a full-time job. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I definitely have a very full-time job and full of projects and full of, deliverables and clients. And I think what I've realized with working at home and a lot of just from a lot of our, you there, Emily? Emily, you there? Em
Oh,
Hold on. Wait, can you hear me? Did you go, like you went away, so I stopped? Hold on. What's happening? Yeah, can you hear me? It's like loading. Hold on. Can you hear me? Oh, wait, it's working. It's working. Are you back? We're back.
okay. Are we back? You would think I'm in like, some far off jungle land, but nope, downtown Chicago. Internet doesn't chooses not to work.
Me too.
Um,
Me too.
okay, so we
All
were,
right, question.
and it was such a good question or such a good answer. So, do you mind repeating?
Yes, yes. So we're talking about how to manage
Yes.
experimenting and testing your own company and following your own like business endeavors while working a full-time job.
Yep.
So, yes, I have a full-time job full of clients, deliverables, projects, and what I've noticed is that it's a lot about your schedule and time management. So, I found when I was at Emory that I always had to be like able to like I had to like collapse time because you had to be in so many places at once, like with your team and with your team at work and your team at school and class and projects and life. And so I found that there were certain, things that really helped in terms of time management and scheduling. So I will say like there is some sacrifice that goes along with this, right? Like it may mean that sometimes you have to say no to a social engagement, or you may have to say no to a wild Saturday night that might then put you out all of Sunday. Like there are certain trade-offs, right, that you have to make. But what I would say is that I've generally been able to find like, let's call it anywhere from like 1 to 4 hours in a day, that allow me to take the baby steps to go closer to my goals. So it might be 1 hour, which is just, lunchtime, or it might be 2 hours after dinner, or it might be if you're an early riser, which I'm not, like you may want to get up at like from 6 to 8 or 6 to 9 when you start your day and work on your own passion projects, because a lot of times it may fuel you, right, for your actual day, right? So all of a sudden I'm super excited, I'm super amped up, and then I'm ready to crank out my corporate work with a different mindset because I'm so excited, right? I'm not just like, oh, another day of meetings. I'm like, let's get at it, like I'm going to use my time wisely, and and I think it helps you to be more present too, because anytime that you're then in your day-to-day meetings, like you want to add value to the meeting. You're like, I'm not going to come to this unless I'm prepared and ready to speak and ready to give it my all. So it really just changes, I think, your perspective and the way that you perform in the corporate world as well.
It's so true, right? Like when we're actually doing work that's in alignment with our purpose, even if it's outside of your full-time job, right? I say this all the time too, like it gives you energy. It adds so much more, we would think that it would take away, right? Because you're spending time on something else. You're giving energy to something else. But when you give energy to something that actually energizes you in return, that affects everything, as you just said, right? And so you end up having more energy for everything rather than less. So, can you give some advice to somebody who maybe is feeling the way you used to feel, which is I have to like make this massive change and explode my life to be able to, be fulfilled or even see what else is out there? Like, what advice would you have for somebody who's feeling like they got to blow it all up?
Yeah, I think that what I would say is that anytime that you feel like you want to blow it all up, I feel like this is like, I mean, like the literal advice, like in like email world, is imagine like you read an email that really sets you off. Like those are the ones you want to wait like 24 hours to respond to, because you've got to like walk away. You got to think about like what actually set you off. Is it you? Is it them? Is it that you were just hungry? Like what, I mean, what is it? So I would say the advice I'd give for somebody that's trying to blow up their life schedule is like you really want to, I think that's when you want to form the relationship with you, and you need to establish a foundation, and you need to establish your value system, and you need to establish like what's actually important to you before going to blow anything up. Because right, like it may be the answer, like you're saying, the answer might be go move to Thailand. The answer might be um go get a second job, or go leave and change industries. It might be any of those things, but it also may be stay where you are. So like I would just say it's take that moment to start reconnecting to who you are on the inside, and it's one of those things where like sometimes it's not an easy relationship to establish, especially if you've been fighting it for a very long time, right? Like especially if you've been like going against the grain, being like I'm scared. You're scared, right? You're scared. You're like you're not sure what will happen. Like living in the unknown is, it can be quite scary. So I find that through this program, I was able to accept the unknown a lot more, which then opens you up to possibilities that you couldn't have ever imagined.
Well, if that's not a
Yeah.
wisdom drop, I don't know what is, right?
Right.
Able to accept the unknown so much more so that you can open up to the possibilities.
Yeah.
Ah, what a wisdom drop. It's so true,
Good
right? Like
stuff.
the unknown is like what we get so scared of, right? Well, I don't know how. I don't know how it'll turn out. I don't know what it'll look like. And so we get so paralyzed by fear because of the unknown. And it sounds like by reconnecting to yourself, what you're really saying is like you were able to just trust yourself more, and you were able to feel
Yeah.
safe with yourself to the extent that you literally can just trust that like it's gonna be fine. Like the unknown is still unknown. It's not like you have every answer in the world figured out right now, but that you're getting them slowly and surely, and that ultimately you know that you will always be able to take care of you now. So no matter what, like you're good, you know? And when we allow ourselves to do that, well, then it's like fucking anything's possible.
I think one of the things that helped me, one of your mantra, well, let's call it mantra, which goes along with this, and I think about it all the time, is like that you only get as much information as you need at that time. That's helped me a lot to
I
be
mean,
like, let me just chill, because that was what
so this is something
I
that like we all struggle with, right? We want, so I'd love to hear your perspective on this. So I hear all the time from clients, and I know, you know, even from my own experience, it's my mantra because I had to practice it, right? That we only get the answers we need when we need them. But so often we want to have it all sorted out. We want to have every answer. We want to have the full picture, like the snow globe is shaken and we can see inside of it, right? We want all the clarity in the world. Can you just speak to like how you've come to accept that it's okay to not have all the answers in this moment and it's okay to just have like, can you speak a little bit to that for us?
Yes, wait, we repeat that last thing for a second. My thing cut out. How
Yeah.
to speak to what?
How did you like what how does when you move through your day,
Yeah.
I was just giving an example, you move through your day and you're like, I still don't know this, I still don't have the answer to this, I don't have clarity on this, like all of these things, right? I just want to know xyz thing, whatever. How do you talk to yourself? Like, how do you sort of help yourself come back down to that realization of feeling okay with just knowing you have the answers you need in that moment and that the rest will come? Can you kind of like bring us into your inner dialogue?
Yeah. So I think I could give you a little bit of an example of this with my other passion, which is music. So it's something that I was always like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. I don't even know what to do. I don't know how to play an instrument. I don't know how to like I don't have like connections or enough to like be dirty about like with this new talent, you know? And it's something I always loved to do is sing since I was little. And it's the one thing that I can give you the concrete example of with this is that all of a sudden it went from like um it's much easier for me to be like I don't know, and sort of like walk away from it. But I was so unsatisfied and so not happy with that choice. That I was like, well, then the only other option is to do it. So, but I don't know how I'm gonna do it. So like a part of it was a, a part of it was listening for those like internal cues of like so um it would be like, all right, well, like I'm gonna sign up for voiceover class. Or I took a workshop. I took an intro workshop. I just put my toe in, and then I was like, okay, this is a way for me to use my voice, and I'm not sure if this is the right way, but it's a way, and I'm gonna go. And then it's like, okay, well, I liked that a lot, and I got good feedback. So like, I'm gonna do the beginner's intensive now. And that requires me to buy a microphone. So then maybe I'm gonna like set up a home studio and like practice on the microphone because then that could potentially at some point maybe give me an audition. I don't know. Maybe. I'm not like confirming any of this is guaranteed, but I'm like and all it takes is me to have a backdrop that's like and actually with voiceover you don't even need to show your face. So like all it requires is for me to like find scripts online and do a Google search and then find it, see what I like. But it's all about like what you like. So you're kind of like following the trail of what you like. I'm not going to pick the script that's like something I hate. I'm going to go find something that's super fun and entertaining and exciting and then follow that. And then maybe from the intensive, I get a reel. And then maybe I get an agent because I speak a different language and I keep remembering like, oh, if I speak a different language, that might set me apart here. So like start to like think about your skill sets and it comes slowly because I never if you asked me like 3 years ago I'd been like what is voiceover. I wouldn't have known, so that's
I mean, I even see you doing it with the business that you've started too. Like you've
yeah
really allowed yourself to just baby steps. Like we say baby, for
yeah
anyone, baby steps are sexy too. It's like one of
yeah
our mantras that we use in Paths of Purpose. But I think you've really just embraced the fucking baby stuff, right? Like,
yeah
you know, you're like, I'm gonna do this one thing, and I'm just gonna let myself do this one thing, and then I'm gonna do the next one thing, and then the next one thing. And I think, you know, it's just it's just an incredible demonstration of like how powerful that is and how much it really can unlock for you when you are rooted in yourself so that you can trust, right? That you can try things and it's okay to try things and that you don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to know how it's all going to play out. And that just by taking one step at a time and another step, that so much just naturally starts to unfold because you're moving in the direction that's in alignment with what you truly want. Adriana, tell us a little bit about like who are there. So just
Yeah.
to pivot
Yeah.
back to your coaching,
Yeah.
who you mentioned people in transition. Can you give us a few different examples of like if somebody's watching this and they want to know if they should reach out to you, if you're the right coach for them, like how would they know? What are some examples of some of clients that would be the right clients for you?
Yeah. Okay. So I would definitely say anyone that is feeling like I feel like anybody that says they're not creative, I would like
Mm,
to like have a conversation because
yes.
it doesn't mean you have to go like be an art like a painter. It can mean anything in the context of what you do currently. So I would say that's definitely number one. We
Can
can
I add to
definitely
that
reframe.
for you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody who feels like they've lost their sense of creativity and maybe used to be creative too, but doesn't like know where their creativity went.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just something so fun to explore, and you'll be so surprised at like what you find and like the newfound like things that you might do, and like they could be so totally random too. But anyway, so that's number one, I would say.
Okay.
Number two, I would definitely say I definitely resonate with those that have gone through some sort of work and experience. So whether it's work and an MBA, or obviously you can translate that to work and maybe a second job or work and you're like sort of like you have so much going on that you need to like take inventory of it all and maybe drop and maybe add and sort of rejig your schedule. Like I would say that's another one,
Okay.
another avenue. And I would say the third one is really like I love having just informal life chats, like problem solving to the point where like I'm like no problem is unsolvable, right? It's only if you don't want to solve it, and that's different. So I would say if you want to come with an open mind of like solving just a specific thing, we're not going through, a whole like life story, like life coaching, like lengthy process. It's more of like there's some cases like that are immediate, and maybe unblocking creativity is a longer endeavor, right? So it just depends, but I would say like that's the spectrum of.
Cool. So just to like, kind of sum this up for anybody who's listening, creativity. If you know that you're feeling blocked in your creativity, maybe you used to be a creative and you've been in the corporate world a while and haven't been using your creativity, or if it's just something that you want to explore. Creativity.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling like you're lacking that in your life. Second thing is, it sounds like actually more like lifestyle design people. So people who
Yeah.
have had like have a lot going on, and it's maybe feeling overwhelming, and they're trying to really create a life that is designed based on how they truly want to live.
Right.
Does that sort of sum up that second
Yeah,
piece? Cool.
I would agree.
And then the third piece it sounds like is like spot treatment. Like you're moving through something, you need help, you need just somebody to be able to bounce some, like you need a support system, right? And I know this is actually, it's quite uncommon, right? For coaches to be like, yeah, I'll do spot treatment with you. Like, let's just jump in and do a massive, power session to really help you move through something. So that's, I mean, pretty incredible. And I think that just knowing you, like, you are going to, I mean, anybody who's feeling any of those things, reach out to Adriana. Tell us a little bit about actually how people can get connected to you and book time with you and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously I have an Instagram handle, AD baby, which is on here, so you'll see it. Feel free to shoot me a DM. You can comment on this live. You can also email me, and I'll definitely anybody that DMs me, I'll email you privately, or I'll give you my email privately. I don't want to drop it in the universe of the internet yet.
Beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. Those I would say those are the two. I would say those are the two ways. I'm not really active on Facebook, but you can find me there if you'd like as well.
Keep it simple. DM her, and I'll obviously include your handle and stuff when we post this for the replay. I guess final things. Anything you
Yeah.
just want to share about how the program has helped you get to this place?
Yeah, absolutely. The program is so wonderful. I would encourage anybody that's listening to go through this. The community is something that even like when we were done, like my group, like we weren't ready to be done with each other. And so we still meet weekly and talk about our weeks. And it's just like this like guiding light. It's just like this compass that keeps you going, right? Like you just get super excited to meet every week with the group and you get super excited to just like uncover things and like you start to realize how much you all have in common. I would say that, like, especially for anyone that's listening, I definitely felt like a lot of times like prior to the program, it was like that feeling of feeling alone and like that nobody else was going through what you were going through. And Paths to Purpose really opened my eyes to like, even though all of us are different walks of life, different ages, different careers, like we all could find commonality in what we were doing. And this program brought us that connection. So I love it. I love that you can still also be involved post program as well. So it's not really over. And I like that because like for me, a lot of programs when they're like over and they let you free into the world, I get a little like anxious and I'm like, what do you mean? Like we've got to like keep it going. So I really like that Path to Purpose has a lot of different avenues that can keep you involved as much as you want to be as well, right?
Yep, it's totally your own experience. And then for anybody who's like thinking about maybe making the investment and doing it, but is just worried about whether or not it's going to work for them or worried about making the investment, what would you say to somebody? What words of wisdom would you share?
Yeah, I would say that for me, it was one of those things that I'm still learning about. But we talk about the worthiness story earlier, and a lot of worthiness can also translate into like where your attention goes and how you spend your money, I would say. I'm not an expert on that, but I have just this general idea of some of the connections in that space. So what I would say is that if you're really on the fence about this, like think about, maybe it's think about who you are now and like who you want to be and like that, not even in terms of maybe where you want to get to in terms of like big goals, but more like character and values. Like think about that aspect and think about like if you're ready to work through a program where you can actually establish and know the answers to like things that you want to know the answers. So like you want to know who you are, right? If somebody asks you for your own elevator pitch, like you want to be able to answer. And I think a lot of times people like don't give themselves enough credit because I'd be like, I'm Adriana, I work for so and so, I have two siblings and a dog. And it's like that's not the answer. Like you've got so I would say like you've gotta like go into a program like this and like invest in yourself. Like we had our previous dean at Emory. I remember she had said something at some point in time where there wasn't an email or a speech and it was like bet on yourself. Bet on yourself. And so like I think that's so cool and it's something that I wrote down and like have near my desk every day where it's like if you're going to bet on yourself, this is a very good place to do that. It's not a gamble, it's like a bet. Like,
Thank you so much. That was
you're
so
welcome.
beautiful and
Yeah.
such a beautiful place to end. Bet
Yes,
on
love
yourself.
it.
Anywhere in life, in anything, right? If you're gonna bet anywhere, bet on yourself, right?
Right.
Always gonna be the biggest
Totally.
ROI.
Yeah.
This is beautiful. Thank you so
Yes,
much for sharing
thank
your
you.
story. Anything
I'm
else?
so
Any
glad to be here. No, I'm
final
so
words?
glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I love these chats and I've missed hanging out with you, so this is so fun.
It was so good to see you too.
You
Okay,
too.
so I'm gonna take a few minutes, get this live so everybody can watch the replay. But thank you so much for being
Yes,
here with us.
mwah.
Have no doubt that there are going to be so many people that you're going to inspire to reconnect with themselves
Yeah.
and to really bet on themselves. So
Yeah.
I can't wait to share this with the world.
Yes. All right, have a lovely weekend, everyone. Bye.
Bye.